Hey everybody, Animal here. Today I've got a video on the top 2 best pet lizards, especially for kids. Stay with us. So, I've got prepared for you my take on the top 2 best pet lizards you could ever have. And man, I've had lizards since I was a kid. Got my first lizard when I was probably 8 years old, and that was a green anole. And let me show you what I've got here. Okay. Now, the first one we're going to see, guess. I'm going to make a guess. Alright, you have it in your head yet? Okay. It is a bearded dragon. How many of you guys guessed that? Let me know in the comments if you guessed it right. This is one of our bearded dragons. His name is Gronk. And I've had this individual probably for about 3 years. He is the third one that I've had though. And he's a very, very good boy. Let's see if I'll go sit on my shoulder. He loves to hang out and just perch there. It's a great thing about having them as a pet. So this is the first one I wanted to show you. To me, this is number 1, okay? The 2 lizards we're going to see in this episode are not so much of a tie, although to some people they might be. To me, I have a clear number 1 lizard, and it is the bearded dragon. This is also called the inland bearded dragon. You find these in Australia in kind of very, very warm savanna type of habitats on the edges of the inner desert, not where it's super, super hot. They like to have, you know, some scrub around, some bushes around, lots of rocks. The main thing is rocks and sand, and they like it hot, you guys. But they are a great, great pet. A lot of people get them as a baby. I always recommend to people that you adopt an animal rather than try to buy one. But if you want to get a baby, go ahead and get a baby if that's what you're more comfortable with. But there are a lot of these up for adoption all the time, places like Craigslist. Just be careful adopting animals on there. And so he's about full grown. Some do get bigger than this. With lizards like this, the males are larger than the females usually, and they also have these swellings at the base of their tail, and because that's one of the ways you can tell it's a boy. Also on their inner thigh, they have these raised row of pores that are called preanal pores. I know it's still probably too far away for you to tell, but on a girl, they're very hard to see. On a male, they're a lot more obvious and they stick out. Males also usually have a larger head, more pronounced beard, and they tend to bulk up. He's kind of a slim guy for a male. And where are you going? I think he just saw a crow fly by or something and it freaked him out a little bit. You alright, bro? Let me scoop him up. I'm back here where it's safe on Daddy. So these like it hot. You need to have a heat lamp or a heat mat. I do not like heat rocks. Those should be outlawed in my opinion. That's how you get dead lizards and lizards with all kinds of burns. You don't want to use heat rocks, guys. Okay, in my opinion, heat lights that are on a timer, or you get one of those like Zoom Man heating pads that go underneath the cage, and you have that on 24 hours a day, which is no big deal because they're only 8 watts, okay? And you'd have that on one end of the cage. That way they can choose how warm they want to be. Their care is very, very simple. Give them a water dish. They'll drink once in a while, but it's rare. Some of them will get their moisture from their food in the wild. That's their main way of getting moisture. And also, you can mist them with water, especially in the early morning or the evening. They really appreciate some mist, and they'll even lick it off themselves or lick it off their cage furnishings. So that's cool. Their food. They like to eat plants. I give them salads every day, and 2 to 3 times a week they get live insects. Usually it's crickets. I prefer crickets over mealworms, and gives them something to chase, something to do. It's kind of part of their enrichment is having the live food to chase after. All right, so the live crickets. I'm going to get out our second one. Oh, also as far as handling, they're best for handling also. Their tails do not break off and regenerate, so you don't have to worry about that. Some lizards, if you scare them, you pick them up too rough or anything like that, or if you grab them by the tail, which you should never do to any animal anyway, but kids do it. Don't do it though if you're a kid, okay? Don't do it. Their tails aren't going to come off, so you don't have to worry about that. It's traumatizing for the lizards, traumatizing for the kid. You don't have to worry about that with bearded dragons. Their tails are really, really on there, okay? They're also usually very gentle. They're friendly. They're happy to just sit on your shoulder while you watch TV, read a book, do your homework, whatever. You know, I can wash dishes at the sink and he'll sit there. I can clean an animal cage. He'll just sit there until he gets real warm. Then he gets the wiggles and he starts to climb all around. It's like an animal man jungle gym here. All right, so can you sit there for a second? There's your answer. Hey, can you sit here with me? I'm going to get out your buddy. Come here. You gonna sit? It's like a lizard treadmill. Hey, Gronk, dude. Come on. The dude abides. All right, sit, stay, good boy. Gronk doesn't listen very well. Hey, Bubba. So if you ever had us come visit your school, or your birthday party, or your library, you probably met Bubba. Bubba comes out all the time as one of our outreach animals. Here he is. This is my big boy, Bubba. And you can't just say Bubba, you've got to say Bubba, because he's a cool dude, Bubba. This is a blue-tongued skink, and he gives the best kisses. Give me a kiss, big boy. Oh, thank you. And you may be worrying about the two of them being together. Guess what? They live together anyway. So they're good pals, Bubba and Gronk. And most people don't recommend you do this, having different species living together. Oh, lizard kisses. Good boy, Gronk. Thank you. Hey, you're going to behave? Be nice. So most people don't recommend that you have different species together. I also don't recommend that. But I'm a professional. We had many play dates with these two before we left them together. And even then we had to supervise them for the first week or so. But they get along great. All right, you guys, they're just misbehaving because they're not in their cage and they're both out and they're like, where the heck are we? What are we doing? What's going on, man? So, blue-tongued skink, also from Australia, very similar in size to bearded dragons, okay? But they're a member of the skink family. Skinks are a really, really cool lizard. They're a little different than a bearded dragon. Beardeds can change color. Skinks cannot. Bearded tails do not come off. Blue-tongue's tails do come off and grow back, although they never grow back the same. So if your lizard gets scared, or if you're too rough with it, or you have an accident or something, their tails can come off. It wiggles around as a distraction. The bleeding stops very, very fast and it begins to heal. It will heal, guys, but how well it heals and how fast it heals depends on how you care for your animal. The warmer they are, the quicker it heals. And the more food and water and the higher quality of the food that they have, the better and the faster it will heal. So just keep that in mind for your lizard. If you have an accident and they're trying to regenerate their tail, it will take months. It'll never look the same. Just to warn you, it'll never look how it looked before. But if you keep them nice and warm, but not too warm, and you give them some very nutritious food, meaning live feeder insects, very nutritious salads, vitamin supplements, things like that, then it'll grow back better for you and they'll be healthier, okay? Because when they have to regenerate it, they pull from their body. If they're not getting enough nutrients from their food, they have to pull from their body and their energy and their fat reserves and all that to rebuild that. And it's really taxing on the animal. So do your animal a favor. Be gentle with it and make sure that they're warm and they're well fed if you have an accident, okay? It's not very common for their tails to come off at all, though. They're not as delicate as something like an anole. Some people pronounce it anole, or a crested gecko or a leopard gecko, okay? That's the main reason why these are my top two. Bearded Dragon's got #1 secured by far. Nobody even comes close as far as I'm concerned. But in my opinion, these are #2 because they're larger, they're hardier, they're better with handling than a smaller type of gecko like a crested or a leopard gecko. And also, their tails don't come off as easily as a crested or a leopard gecko. Alright, so I think they're better. And the other cool thing about blue tongues is they give kisses and they have little personalities. They are actually pretty intelligent for a small lizard. I'm convinced that Bubba knows his name, and he comes when I call him. He comes over to me and he'll come give me kisses, let me pet him and stuff. He'll also take food from my hand, which you need to be careful with. But if you know your lizard well and you're careful, he will do it. They'll do it. So it's pretty interactive for a reptile. And both these lizards will live to be about probably 10 years old. 12 would be pushing it a little bit. But Bubba here, he's at least 10 years old now. And he's still trucking along. I mean, this guy, he's pretty unstoppable. He's like a Mack truck as far as lizards are concerned. He's built like a tank. He's a real good boy. They're not as good at handling because the tails can come off, although it's hard to make that happen. You really have to be doing something wrong to make that happen. Also, they can't climb and hold on as well as a bearded can. You see him just sitting there, can't do the shoulder thing with a blue-tongue skink. So a little bit different as far as that. But temperament-wise, they're both a pretty chilled out, relaxed lizard. They're great and very easy to care for. Similar needs. They're both from the same place, so they both like the heat. They don't need lots of humidity unless they're shedding. They will drink water once in a while. The skinks tend to drink more than the bearded dragons will. I see Bubba drink water pretty frequently. And they will both eat live crickets probably 2 to 3 times a week. The babies will need them more often than that, though. But for the adults, 2 or 3 times a week is enough. Okay. If you cannot get yourself, or if your parents cannot get themselves to buy live crickets or watch them eat live crickets, then neither of these lizards are the pet for you. Which is why I always tell people to read books about the animals you want before you get the animal. That way you know what to expect, you know what you're in for, how big their cage should be, how long they live. Which reminds me, cage size. For a baby, a 20-gallon would be okay. 20 long, it's called. But you should just buy a 40-gallon breeder tank right off the bat. A 40 breeder, I believe, is 36 by 18 by 18. With both of these lizards, floor space is more important than height. You don't need a lot of height because these are terrestrial lizards, meaning they live on the ground and they stay near the ground, especially the beardeds. They go up a little bit. The skinks tend to stay pretty much just on the ground, and they like to hide in between and underneath things. Okay, so do yourself a favor, buy a 40-gallon breeder tank right off the bat, even for your baby. Give them enough hiding spots. That way they won't be, scared that it's too big of an area or anything, because people worry about that and ask me about that a lot. And these are both great pet lizards if it's the right fit for you. Hey, buddy. All right, thank you guys very much for watching. Please subscribe to Animal World Experience, and we will see you again soon with another reptile video. Hey guys, if you want to help support what I do, please head over to animalworldexperience.com, click on Become a Member, and I have a new membership program for you guys. For $11.99 per year, you unlock all of your cool benefits. I've got a free copy of my first children's book, Jackson's Wild Journey, downloadable as a PDF, discounts on my famous traveling live animal programs, of course, access to members-only videos, get over here you, and also I've got discounts and giveaways from supporting vendors that I've secured for you guys, such as Jungle Bob's Reptile World, Jungle Bob's Aquatics, and also the Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine at Tufts University, and many more to come. Check it out.